Did you know that the US Air Force once accidentally dropped a nuclear bomb on a family home in this state? How about that there is an isolated island off the coast inhabited entirely by over 4,000 wild monkeys, originally from Puerto Rico? Or that the state is covered in thousands of mysterious, perfectly elliptical geological depressions that all point in the exact same direction, and scientists still aren't 100% sure how they got there? Well, South Carolina is a place full of insane facts like this, and today, we're breaking down 50 facts that will completely change how you see the Palmetto State. Fact 50. The monkey colony of Morgan Island. Located north of Beaufort, Morgan Island is strictly off limits to humans because it is the domain of approximately 4,000 free-ranging rhesus macaques. In 1979, researchers moved 1,400 monkeys here from Puerto Rico to establish a breeding colony for medical research. Today, the population has more than doubled, making it one of the only places in the United States where non-native monkeys live wild. The density of primates here rivals some natural habitats in Southeast Asia, creating a surreal ecosystem just miles from popular tourist beaches. Fact 49. The Mars Bluff Incident. On March 11, 1958, a B-47 Stratojet bomber accidentally dropped a Mark VI nuclear bomb over the Mars Bluff community near Florence. The bomb fell from 15,000 feet, landing in the garden of Walter Gregg, while the nuclear core was stored separately on the plane. The 7,600 pounds of conventional high explosives detonated upon impact. The blast created a crater 75 feet wide and 35 feet deep, large enough to swallow a suburban house. It completely leveled the Gregg home and injured 6 family members, miraculously killing no one. Fact 48. The mystery of the Carolina Bays. Aerial photography reveals that the South Carolina coastal plain is pockmarked with thousands of elliptical depressions known as Carolina Bays. Whether 500 feet or 5 miles long, every single one is oriented along a northwest to southeast axis. Estimates suggest there are over 500,000 of these formations across the Atlantic seaboard, with a high concentration in South Carolina. While early theories suggested meteor impacts, modern geologists lean toward thermokarst lakes formed by wind and water during the last ice age, around 20,000 years ago, though the uniformity remains a geological puzzle. Fact 47. The largest ginkgo farm in the world. When you think of ancient medicine, you might think of China, but Sumter, South Carolina, is home to the world's largest ginkgo biloba farm. Garnet Inker manages a plantation of roughly 12 million trees across 12,000 acres. The farm produces about 2.5 million pounds of dried leaves annually, which are processed for pharmaceutical use. The trees are kept effectively as bushes, pruned mechanically to maximize leaf production, creating a vast, distinctively green landscape visible from high-altitude satellites. Fact 46. The submarine that made history. The H.L. Hunley, built in Mobile but deployed in Charleston, became the first combat submarine to sink a warship on February 17, 1864. The vessel was powered by hand. A crew of 8 men turned a crankshaft to propel the cigar-shaped boat at about 4 knots. It successfully rammed a spar torpedo into the USS Housatonic, sinking the Union blockade ship in minutes. However, the victory was Pyrrhic. The Hunley also sank shortly after, killing its entire crew. The wreck wasn't raised until 2000. 136 years later. Fact 45. The venomous density of Edisto Island. Edisto Island has a reputation among herpetologists for having one of the highest densities of eastern diamondback rattlesnakes in the region. These pit vipers are the heaviest venomous snakes in the Americas, capable of reaching lengths over 7 feet and weighing up to 34 pounds. The island's specific mixture of palmetto scrub and sandy soil creates an ideal hunting ground for the ambush predators. It serves as a reminder that despite development, the Low Country remains a rugged, untamed biological frontier. Fact 44. The oldest landscaped gardens in America. Middleton Place in Charleston isn't just a garden. It is the oldest landscaped garden in the United States, dating back to 1741. Henry Middleton employed 100 enslaved people for a decade to sculpt the terrain into the precise symmetry of European design. The garden layout relies on strict geometry, long vistas, butterfly lakes, and terraced lawns, covering 65 acres. This was an attempt to impose mathematical order on the chaotic southern wilderness, creating a landscape that has survived hurricanes and wars for nearly 3 centuries. Fact 43. The Peach Capital. Despite Georgia's nickname, the Peach State, South Carolina consistently rivals and often surpasses it in peach production. The state produces over 90,000 tons of peaches in an average year, with the vast majority coming from the Piedmont region. This volume is roughly 3 times the production of Georgia in certain harvest years. The specific soil acidity and chill hours in edge counties like Spartanburg create a higher sugar content, making the industry worth over $80 million annually to the state economy. Fact 42. The deepest dive into sweet tea. Summerville, South Carolina, holds the Guinness World Record for the world's largest sweet tea. In 2016, the town brewed a vat containing 2,524 gallons of the beverage. This required 210 pounds of loose leaf tea and 1,700 pounds of sugar. To put that sugar content in perspective, that is roughly the weight of a compact car dissolved into water. The mixture was stirred with an oar large enough to row a galley ship, cementing the town's claim as the birthplace of sweet tea. Fact 41. The Stumphouse Mountain Tunnel. In the 1850s, workers attempted to dig a railway tunnel through Stumphouse Mountain to connect Charleston to the Midwest. They drilled 1,617 feet into the blue granite before the Civil War, and lack of funds halted the project permanently. Today, the tunnel remains an incomplete, dead-end cavern maintaining a constant temperature of 50 degrees Fahrenheit with 85% humidity. This specific microclimate turned out to be perfect for curing blue cheese, and for years, Clemson University used the railway failure as a massive natural cheese cave. Fact 40. The monster of Scape or Swamp. Bishopville is the home of the Lizard Man, a cryptid first reported in June 1988. Christopher Davis, then 17, claimed a 7-foot-tall, green, scaly humanoid attacked his car, leaving deep scratch marks on the roof and damaging the side mirror. Law enforcement officers later found 3-toed footprints measuring 14 inches long in the mud. While likely a combination of folklore and misidentified wildlife, perhaps a bear, the report triggered a media frenzy that drew international news crews to a quiet swamp in Lee County. Fact 39. The Congaree Champions. Congaree National Park protects the largest intact expanse of old-growth bottomland hardwood forest remaining in the southeastern United States. Within this floodplain, you find champion trees that are the largest of their species. The park boasts a loblolly pine that stands 167 feet tall, roughly the height of a 15-story building. This forest canopy is so high and dense that it has earned the nickname the Redwoods of the East, preserving an ecosystem that looked much the same 500 years ago. Fact 38. The Angel Oak's coverage. Located on Johns Island, the Angel Oak is a southern live oak estimated to be between 400 and 500 years old, though some claims push it past a millennium. While it stands only 65 feet tall, its canopy is the true marvel, shading 17,200 square feet of ground, an area larger than 3 standard basketball courts combined. Its longest branch extends 187 feet from the trunk, which is so heavy it rests on the ground before curving back up, behaving more like a geological formation than a plant limb. Fact 37. The Atomic Energy Capital. The Savannah River Site, SRS, is a 310-square-mile industrial complex built in the 1950s to refine nuclear materials for weapons. During the Cold War, this single site produced about 36 metric tons of plutonium-239. The scale of the operation required the seizure of 200,000 acres and the complete relocation of 2 towns, Ellenton and Dunbarton. Today, the site remains one of the most secure and scientifically monitored patches of Earth in the Western Hemisphere, holding roughly 37 million gallons of liquid nuclear waste in underground tanks. Fact 36. The ghost town under Lake Jocassee. When Duke Power built the Jocassee Dam in 1973, the resulting reservoir flooded the Jocassee Valley, submerging a vibrant community. Today, roughly 300 feet below the surface, remnants of the Atakula Lodge and the Mount Carmel Baptist Church Cemetery still exist. Divers with technical certification can visit the graveyard, where headstones remain upright in the silt. It is a preserved underwater time capsule, where the infrastructure of the 1970s sits in eternal, pressurized darkness. Fact 35. The first public library. South Carolina established the first government-supported public library in the American colonies in 1698 in Charlestown, now Charleston. While private collections existed, this was the first instance of tax money being used to circulate books to the public. However, it wasn't a library in the modern sense. The books were heavily theological and meant to ensure the moral standing of the colonists, showing that information control has always been a priority of governance. Fact 34. The New Madrid Rival. On August 31st, 1886, Charleston was struck by a massive earthquake estimated at a magnitude of 7.0 to 7.3. It remains the most damaging earthquake to hit the southeast United States. The shockwaves were so powerful, they were felt as far away as Boston and Chicago. Liquefaction, where solid ground temporarily turns to liquid jelly, caused sand craters to erupt across the city. Structural damage was so severe that it fundamentally changed construction codes in the region, leading to the use of earthquake bolts visible in historic homes today. Fact 33. The UFO Welcome Center. In the small town of Bowman, a local resident named Jody Pendarvis built a 42-foot wide flying saucer out of wood, fiberglass, and scrap metal. Unlike other roadside attractions, this is functional in the sense that it is a fully habitable structure with air conditioning and a shower, designed specifically to house aliens when they land. Pendarvis built it without blueprints, stacking a smaller saucer on top of a larger one, creating a precarious piece of folk art that has survived decades of hurricane winds. Fact 32. The Ace Basin. The Ashepoo, Combahee, and Edisto Basin represents one of the largest undeveloped estuaries on the Atlantic coast, covering 350,000 acres. This area is a critical stopping point for migratory birds, but its biological importance is in the water. The basin supports a population of short-nosed sturgeon, a prehistoric fish species that has existed largely unchanged for 100 million years. These living fossils swim in waters that are chemically distinct because the Edisto is one of the longest free-flowing blackwater rivers in North America. Fact 31. The world's largest BMW plant. You might associate BMW with Bavaria, but their largest manufacturing plant by volume is actually in Greer, South Carolina. Plant Spartanburg exports roughly 70% of its production to 120 countries. The facility employs over 11,000 people and produces about 1,500 vehicles every single day. The factory floor is so vast that it utilizes hydrogen fuel cell forklifts to move parts, operating as a self-contained industrial city that anchors the state's modern manufacturing economy. Fact 30. The log perch's tool use. In the Chattooga River, scientists have observed the Roanoke log perch, a small fish, engaging in behavior that is incredibly rare for fish, using tools. The log perch uses its snout to flip over stones on the riverbed to access prey hiding underneath. This requires a calculated application of force and leverage, demonstrating a level of cognitive problem-solving usually reserved for primates or crows, not 5-inch freshwater darters. Fact 29. The Spoleto Phenomenon. For 17 days each spring, Charleston hosts the Spoleto Festival USA, one of the world's major performing arts festivals. It was founded in 1977 as the American counterpart to the Festival of Two Worlds in Spoleto, Italy. The event transforms the city, utilizing churches, theaters, and even parks as venues for opera, jazz, and theater. It is not just a local fair. It is a global cultural anchor that commissions original works, bringing an influx of avant-garde art that clashes fascinatingly with the city's traditional aesthetic. Fact 28. The Gullah Geechee Corridor. The coastline from North Carolina to Florida, centered heavily on the South Carolina Sea Islands, is home to the Gullah Geechee people, descendants of enslaved West Africans from the rice-growing regions of Sierra Leone and Liberia. They have retained more of their African linguistic and cultural heritage than any other African American community. Their language is a Creole based on English and various African tongues, and their sweetgrass basket weaving uses coiled techniques identical to those found in West Africa today. representing a direct, unbroken cultural lineage spanning 300 years. Fact 27. The unsinkable flag. The state flag of South Carolina features a palmetto tree, a symbol derived from the Revolutionary War defense of Sullivan's Island. On June 28, 1776, British warships pounded the fort, which was constructed of palmetto logs and sand. Instead of splintering, the spongy fibrous wood absorbed the cannonballs, causing them to bounce off or bury harmlessly. This structural property of the monocot wood allowed the colonists to withstand a bombardment that would have shattered traditional oak or pine fortifications. Fact 26. The hydrology of Table Rock. Table Rock Mountain is a granite dome that rises prominently in the Blue Ridge Escarpment. What is unique is its sheer face, which acts as a massive watershed. Despite looking like solid rock, the granite hosts a unique ecosystem of lichens and mosses that survive on water seeping through microscopic cracks. This weeping rock face feeds streams that eventually form the Saluda River, proving that even the hardest stone in the state acts as a biological sponge. Fact 25. The Vanishing Island. Morris Island, near the entrance to Charleston Harbor, was once home to a lighthouse and several buildings. However, due to the construction of jetties in the harbor, which disrupted the natural sand transport, the island has severely eroded. The Morris Island Lighthouse, which once stood 1,200 feet inland, now stands completely surrounded by water, several hundred yards offshore. It serves as a stark, vertical measuring stick for rapid coastal erosion and sea level rise. Fact 24. The only tea plantation. For decades, the Charleston Tea Garden on Wadmalaw Island was the only commercial tea plantation in North America. The specific Camellia sinensis plants grown here are direct descendants of tea bushes brought to the U.S. in the 1800s. The humid, subtropical climate of the Low Country mimics the growing conditions of classic tea regions in Asia. They use a unique harvester, a modified cotton picker, to trim the top few inches of the bushes, mechanizing a process that is hand-picked in most of the world. Fact 23. The highest point. Sassafras Mountain stands at 3,553 feet above sea level, the highest point in South Carolina. However, this peak is not a solitary summit, but part of the Blue Ridge Escarpment, a sudden drop in elevation that separates the mountains from the Piedmont. From the observation tower built in 2019, you can see 4 states on a clear day: South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. It represents the geological edge of the Appalachian chain before it dissolves into the rolling hills. Fact 22. The Tuscarora Jack Gold. In the early 1700s, Colonel John Barnwell, known as Tuscarora Jack, established a fort in what is now Beaufort. While known for military exploits, the region also saw small-scale gold prospecting long before the California Gold Rush. Several commercial gold mines operated in South Carolina in the 1820s and 1830s, specifically in the Slate Belt. The Haley Gold Mine in Kershaw County is actually the largest open-pit gold mine in the eastern U.S., still active today, pulling microscopic gold particles from tons of rock. Fact 21. The synchronous fireflies. Congaree National Park is one of the few places in the Western Hemisphere where you can witness synchronous fireflies. For a roughly 2-week window between mid-May and mid-June, thousands of these beetles blink in unison. Unlike standard fireflies that flash randomly, these males coordinate their bioluminescence to signal females. The result is a forest that plunges into total darkness and then lights up entirely in a rhythmic, pulsating wave of green light. Fact 20. The Pearl Friar Topiary. In Bishopville, Pearl Friar, a man with no formal horticultural training, spent decades transforming a 3-acre cornfield into an abstract garden of living sculptures. He used salvaged plants from the discard pile of local nurseries to create 300 topiaries. His achievement is scientifically notable because he successfully sculpted species not normally suited for topiary, manipulating their growth patterns through sheer persistence and daily pruning, creating a botanical marvel that defies standard gardening taxonomy. Fact 19. The oldest museum. The Charleston Museum, founded in 1773, claims the title of America's first museum. Inspired by the British Museum, it was established by the Charleston Library Society to collect materials for a natural history of this province. Its collection includes low-country fossils and indigenous artifacts collected before the United States was even a country. It represents the Enlightenment-era drive to categorize and catalog the New World's biodiversity. Fact 18. The Venom Lab, the Serpentarium on Edisto Island, though recently closed to the public, and other facilities in the state have played crucial roles in anti-venom production. South Carolina's warm climate supports significant populations of cottonmouths, copperheads, and rattlesnakes. For years, milking these snakes provided the raw proteins necessary to create the antidotes stocked in hospitals across the Southeast, creating a direct link between the state's dangerous wildlife and its life-saving medical infrastructure. Fact 17. The chicken bog. While barbecue gets the glory, the true endemic dish of South Carolina is chicken bog. Unlike a pilaf or a gumbo, a bog is a rice dish made specifically with sausage, chicken, and spices. Where the rice is cooked so wet, it bogs down. It originated in the PD region, specifically around Loris, which hosts an annual festival for the dish. It is a culinary artifact of the state's rice-growing heritage, designed to stretch small amounts of protein to feed large gatherings. Fact 16. The first game of golf. South Carolina has a strong claim to the first game of golf played in the American colonies. Ship manifests from 1743 record the delivery of 96 golf clubs and 432 golf balls to Charleston merchant David Dease. The South Carolina Golf Club was formed shortly after, in 1786. This predates many more famous northern clubs, establishing the state's obsession with the sport nearly 3 centuries before the Masters was ever broadcast. Fact 15. The massive Saluda Dam. When the Saluda Dam was completed in 1930, it was the largest earthen dam in the world for power purposes. The structure stretches 1.5 miles long and rises 213 feet high. The engineering feat created Lake Murray, covering 50,000 acres. The pressure of this water was so immense that during construction, engineers had to build a backup fuse plug spillway to prevent catastrophic failure, a design feature acknowledging the immense power of the impounded Saluda River. Fact 14. The introduction of camellias. The Camellia japonica, now the state flower of Alabama, actually made its American debut in South Carolina. Botanist André Michaux, serving King Louis XVI of France, planted them at Middleton Place Gardens in 1786. One of these original trees, known as the Reine des Fleurs, is still alive today. It has survived over 230 years of hurricanes and frosts, serving as a living biological link to the pre-revolutionary French court. Fact 13. The waterfalls of the upstate. While South Carolina is often associated with beaches, the upstate region sits along the fall line, producing a high density of waterfalls. Issaquena Falls near Walhalla drops 100 feet, while Raven Cliff Falls is the tallest, plunging roughly 400 feet. These dramatic geological drop-offs from the Blue Ridge provided natural power sources for the early textile mills, fueling the state's economy for over a century. Fact 12. The Revolutionary War Hub. While Boston and Philadelphia often dominate Revolutionary War history, South Carolina actually saw more battles and skirmishes than any other state, over 200 in total. The conflict here was a brutal civil war between patriot militias and loyalist neighbors, featuring guerrilla warfare in the swamps. Figures like Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox, led hit-and-run tactics that baffled British forces and are still studied in military colleges today. Fact 11. The Kazoo Capital. Beaufort, South Carolina, is home to the Kazooie Kazoo Factory, one of the only metal kazoo factories in the world. While a toy, the kazoo is technically a membranophone, an instrument that modifies the player's voice via a vibrating membrane. The factory produces over 1 million kazoos a year, using original die press machinery that has been in operation for decades, keeping a very specific buzzing slice of Americana alive. Fact 10. The Ghost Lilies. The Rocky Shoals. Spider lily is a rare aquatic flowering plant that requires specific conditions: shallow, fast-flowing water over rocky shoals. Lansford Canal State Park on the Catawba River hosts the largest population of these lilies in the world. For a few weeks in May and June, the river appears covered in a blanket of white snow. The plant is incredibly sensitive to water quality and flow rate, making its abundance here a fragile indicator of the river's health. Fact 9. The abandoned castle. Atalaya Castle in Murrells Inlet is a Moorish-style fortress built in the 1930s by industrialist Archer Huntington and his sculptor wife, Anna Hyatt Huntington. It was not a fortification, but a winter home and studio. The structure features 30 rooms arranged around a courtyard, with indoor and outdoor studios designed specifically to accommodate live animals, including bears and jaguars, that Anna used as models for her sculptures. It remains a haunting, empty shell of artistic eccentricity on the coast. Fact 8. The Iodine State. Before the Palmetto State became the ubiquitous nickname, South Carolina license plates in the 1930s bore the slogan, "The Iodine State." The state's soil and vegetation were found to be rich in iodine, a critical nutrient that prevents goiter. The state launched a massive marketing campaign to sell SC-grown produce as a health supplement to the iodine-deficient Midwest. While the nickname didn't stick, the soil chemistry remains a distinct agricultural advantage. Fact 7. The deepest limestone cave. Santee State Park sits atop a limestone karst foundation. While not open to the general public due to safety and bat conservation, the park contains sinkholes leading to cave systems. These are solution caves, formed by acidic groundwater dissolving the limestone over millennia. They provide a critical roosting habitat for the southeastern Myotis bat, a species currently threatened by white nose syndrome. Fact 6. The world's smallest police station. Ridgway, South Carolina, was home to a police station that was essentially a closet. From 1940 to 1990, the town's police department operated out of a building measuring roughly 230 square feet. It had a desk, a file cabinet, and a pot-belly stove. It was eventually replaced, but the structure stands as a testament to the low-crime, slow-paced reality of the state's rural interior for much of the 20th century. Fact 5. The Carolina parakeet. South Carolina was once the habitat of the Carolina parakeet, the only parrot species indigenous to the eastern United States. These colorful birds were once so numerous, they were considered pests by farmers. The last wild specimen was killed in 1904. Their extinction was rapid, caused by habitat loss and the demand for their colorful feathers in ladies' hats. Today, they serve as a cautionary tale of how quickly even abundant species can vanish from the state's ecosystem. Fact 4. The barbecue belt. South Carolina is the only state in the nation that officially recognizes 4 distinct barbecue sauce regions. While other states fight over one style, SC is a culinary map. The vinegars are pepper base in the PD coast, the mustard base in the Midlands, influenced by German settlers, the light tomato in the upper middle, and the heavy tomato in the west. The Carolina Gold mustard sauce is the most distinct, a direct result of German immigration patterns in the 1700s that doesn't exist natively anywhere else in the American South. Fact 3. The discovery of radiation hormesis. The healing springs of God's Acre in Blackville have been used for centuries, with legends saying the water cures illnesses. In a strange twist, modern testing revealed the water contains trace amounts of natural minerals and very low-level background radiation from the underlying granite geology. While high radiation is deadly, the locals swore by the water's efficacy. In 1944, the land was legally deeded to God Almighty by the owner, making it perhaps the only property in the U.S. where the tax-exempt owner is the deity himself. Fact 2. The Great Storm of 1893. While Hurricane Hugo is famous, the Sea Islands hurricane of 1893 was far deadlier. It struck near Savannah and swept north over the South Carolina islands. Without modern warning systems, the storm surge submerged entire islands. Estimates put the death toll at over 2,000 people, mostly formerly enslaved African Americans living on the barrier islands. It remains the 3rd deadliest hurricane in U.S. history, a tragedy that fundamentally altered the demographics and economy of the Lowcountry. Fact 1. The bomb that didn't drop, but is still there. We started with a bomb that dropped, but we end with one that was lost. On February 5th, 1958, just a month before the Mars Bluff incident, a B-47 bomber collided with a fighter jet off the coast of Tybee Island near the SC/GA border. To land safely, the pilot jettisoned a Mark 15 nuclear bomb into the Wassaw Sound. The bomb, weighing 7,600 pounds, sank into the silt. Despite massive searches by the military in 1958 and again in the 2000s, The Tybee bomb has never been found. It remains buried somewhere in the pluff mud of the coastal floor, a dormant nuclear artifact sleeping just beneath the waves.